This is what you didn't know. It's time for another What You Did Not Know. Today's session is going to be about the car, the automobile. You know, the thing you drive? When I was in school, I was taught that Henry Ford invented the automobile. That is a 100% lie. So let's go over the automobile. Just so you know in advance, do your research. I did not cover all of the inventors who have been a part of this invention of the automobile. Only a few of them. Believe it or not, Henry Ford was one of the last to be a part of the inventors of the automobile. So it was in 1672, actually, 1672, a man by the name of Ferdinand Verbiest in 1672 actually invented a steam-powered car. However, you were unable to sit in it, so no drivers or passengers could get inside of it. But he did find a way to get a steam-powered car to move. In 1769, Nicholas Joseph Cugnot invented the first self-propelled mechanical automobile. In 1801, Richard Trevithick invented what he called the Puffing Devil road locomotive. It was unable to maintain steam pressure long enough, so it wasn't very practical. In 1881, Gustav Trove invented the first electric car, believe it or not. Finally, we get to what is considered the very first automobile, which was in 1879, invented by Carl Benz, the maker of Mercedes-Benz. His wife, Bertha, was the first person to ever drive the car long distance. She would drive it around, basically advertising its name and advertising the car, and it's actually how people began to learn of the Benz by her driving it around. In 1893, the first working car to be road tested in America. So all of these other cars that I mentioned were not in America. They were in different other countries. Do your research. But the very first car to actually be road tested and work in America was in 1893 by Duryea Brothers of Massachusetts. In 1896, C.R. Patterson and Sons Company was the first African-American owned automobile manufacturer. And then finally we get to Henry Ford. Actually, no, we don't. In 1901, excuse me. In 1901, Ransom Olds, the maker of the Oldsmobile, was actually the first to mass produce cars. And then finally in 1913, Henry Ford comes along and was the first to mass produce cars within 15 minutes. Henry Ford, what he did was he was the first to mass produce cars quickly. But he wasn't really the first to do anything much other than that, was to mass produce cars quickly. Believe it or not, there were about 5 or more inventors, not mentioned as I said, that came before Henry Ford. If you do your research, you'll see them. They all had help. Most of them were not in America. The automobile, like the light bulb, if you saw my other video about the light bulb, is not an invention that one can fit in one article. With many inventors from all over the world, it takes time and much research to fully get the full story of the invention of the automobile. Also, like the automobile, the light bulb took over 25 different men to get this invention up and running. And so I think they probably just said Henry Ford because it was easy to say Henry Ford invented the car as opposed to giving us all this information. But at the end of the day, Henry Ford did not invent the car. Like I said, the very first automobile was invented in 1672. Henry Ford didn't come around until 1901. So the car was really old by the time Henry Ford came around. So he was not the first to invent it. And he also wasn't the first to mass produce it. He was just the first to mass produce it quickly. So that's it for today. Always do your research. Make sure you research everything they teach you in school, because for whatever reason, the school system thinks giving you false information is a good idea. Not exactly sure why, but they do. That's it for today. Hope to see you again for another What You Didn't Know.